So the big question really is, why have we never cruised Celebrity before? In this series, we're going to try and find out. Hey, welcome to This is the Cruise. I'm Clint, and this is the channel where we look at upcoming cruise itineraries and try to find out if this is the cruise for you. Today, we're looking at Celebrity Cruises, Apex, and Ascent itineraries in the Caribbean. Why two ships? Well, they're both Celebrity Edge class ships, and because I'm a simple person, they both start with the letter A. So it's easier for me to think about them that way. And they are cruising similar itineraries. So grouping them together for this series just made sense. First, we're going to look at where these two ships visit, and then we'll briefly compare the ships themselves, and then we'll get into the ratings. But before we start, if you're enjoying the content, if you're finding it helpful, I really appreciate it if you'd like the video and definitely subscribe. I'm trying to grow my subscriber base up. It really helps. If this really helps you pick an itinerary, consider buying me a cup of coffee. There's a link you can use in the description below. It's safe and secure. Or perhaps you become a channel member. That would really help me out. It's helping me grow the channel. It's helping me upgrade my equipment and be able to tell better stories as we go along. I just want to say thank you for that. All right, so let's start by looking at the destinations. Where do the Apex and the Ascent travel to? Most of these itineraries are going to go to the Eastern Caribbean and kind of a combination thereof with some nuances and some outliers, of course. So let's look at where we're going, where we could go, and maybe even think of some things that we could do along the way. So all of our itineraries start here in Fort Lauderdale. If you've watched any of my previous videos with itineraries that begin here, you'll know that this is one of my favorite ports to cruise from. Not because there's so much to do in Fort Lauderdale itself. It's a nice city and there's some really nice Florida beaches there and some interesting things to do, particularly if you go into the Everglades. But if you'll notice, the airport is right by the cruise port, and that makes it really easy to fly in and get to your destination. And really, when your cruise is done, get back to the airport and head out. Our first destination that we're going to look at is actually Key West. And I've been to Key West a number of times. In fact, nope, that's a Holland America. There's a Holland America ship here in port. Oh, wait. Oh, and a Royal Caribbean ship as well. But I like Key West. It's an easy cruise port to cruise to. It's an easy city to walk around. It's safe. There's some interesting things to see, some interesting beaches. And if you're not aware, this is where you can get to the easternmost point in the United States. There's a marker there that you can see. We've been there, we've taken the kids there. I like Key West. It's a low stress port. However, it's important to know that they are trying to reduce the number of cruise ship visitors. So if you have the opportunity to cruise to Key West, that's kind of a bonus because there aren't going to be as many cruises to Key West as there were in the past. Next, we have Bimini. This is in the Bahamas. It's not really a deserted isle vibe, but there isn't a ton of city life and activity to do here. However, there's amazing diving, there's great beaches, and there seems to be this very interesting dolphin museum. I've not been there, but it looks intriguing. And I think the next time we go, we would probably hit that up just as a curiosity's sake. But if you're into beaches, if you're into getting into the water and relaxing, Bimini's a great destination for you. It's one of the nicer, sort of calmer Bahama islands to visit. From here, we're going to head over and check out Coco Cay, which is kind of the opposite of Bimini. It is Royal Caribbean's private island, and if you're not aware, Celebrity Cruises is owned by Royal Caribbean, so they share a lot of the same destinations. Coco Cay is an interesting place because Royal Caribbean has done a lot of things to the island to give you a ton of activity. However, there are a lot of ways that you can kind of get away and relax as well. When we have gone here, we actually bring our own snorkel gear so that way we don't have to rent anything. We can just get in the water and snorkel. There's some great things to see here that Royal Caribbean has done to make it interesting, and see sunken ships and a plane that wrecked in the bay. It's a fun thing to do. None of it's really real, but the fish like it, and then we like it. So consider snorkeling here as an inexpensive activity without having to yet pour more money into the sort of celebrity Royal Caribbean complex, as it were. The next place we're going to look at is Nassau, Bahamas. This one is actually on some, the U.S. State Department's caution lists. There are some unsafe areas in Nassau, so that does hurt the itineraries that visit here from a safety perspective. The score does drop a little bit. But if you are going to get in the water, if you're going to enjoy the ocean, if you are going to stay near the port, it's a fine stop. No problems there. Just don't stray too far into the city. Be aware of that. Moving on, we'll move over to the Cayman Islands. The Cayman Islands now are in the Greater Antilles. We've left the Bahamas here. We like the Cayman Islands. We've gone swimming with stingrays here and just really enjoyed the area. The beaches are spectacular as you go around the island. There's a lot of very interesting things to see here. And if you've never done a stingray swim, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. They're like big cats and they just love to come up and have you pet them and rub up against you. Great fun. And enjoy the beaches, of course. From here, we'll move over to Jamaica, another one that unfortunately has sort of landed itself on the cautionary list of places to visit. Definitely consider booking something through the ship here if you are going to be in Jamaica. You want to stay with your group and remain safe. We actually did a Jungle River whitewater rafting tour when we were here. We did it on our own. It was a little sketchy getting there, but once we were there, we had a great time. It was amazing. It was so much fun, but we were younger and maybe a little bit more naive than what was happening around us. So fortunately, we were safe and everything was fine. We had a really good time. It's such a pretty place, but just be aware that there are some areas of concern when it comes to safety in Jamaica as well. Next, we have Labadee, Haiti. And if you've been keeping up with the news, you know that there's a lot of unrest happening here in Haiti. Not here, because this is kind of walled off and protected from the rest of the country. However, Royal Caribbean has stopped sailing to this location on some itineraries. I don't know if by the time these itineraries roll around, if that will have changed. Currently, they are still listing Labadee, Haiti as a destination. However, I have a friend who was cruising this past week where they were supposed to go here and instead they went to Bimini. So just be aware that your itinerary may change if you are slated to cruise here. We cruised here and stopped in after an earthquake, and there was just this tension internally that I had with right on the other side of these gorgeous mountains is a country in somewhat of despair, and they're struggling. With that being said, I really wanted to make sure that when I did my shopping, I was shopping local and spending money locally rather than spending money doing excursions provided by the Royal Caribbean Corporation. They're hiring some local people, which is good, so some of the money's flowing back into the economy. Those are some of the tensions with traveling here. It is such a beautiful place, and I hope and pray for peace. Right next to Haiti, though, is the Dominican Republic, another very pretty stop that you may have on some of these itineraries. You're going to be stopping right in Puerto Plata, and some of the other Dominican cruises that cruise here stop in Amber Cove. Not, to my understanding, not Royal Caribbean. Checking the logs, it looks like we're going to be right here, right in Puerto Plata, which gives you access to a very vibrant city. That's what we probably would do, is go and explore the city where it's generally safe. It is generally safe to get around, but like anywhere, you just need to be aware of your surroundings. There's just some very cool, interesting culture here in the city. If this is your first time and you're an adventurous person and you don't mind crowds, the waterfalls of Damahagua are a fascinating excursion. However, it is a tourist destination, so it is likely to be busy. We've done it, it was busy, and we had a blast doing it. So I do recommend it. Just be aware of what you're getting into, because there's going to be a lot of people trying to sell you things and there will be crowds, but I still think it's worth it. From here, let's check out San Juan. You're going to be docked right next to Old San Juan. You'll be able to explore the city, which is what I would recommend doing. Go to the fort. I love San Juan. I love Old San Juan. It's just such a cool place to walk around, and there's so much vibrancy and culture here as well. One of my favorites. Then perhaps we're going to be in St. Thomas. St. Thomas is another prime destination, another one of my favorites. There's some great shopping here right in the city. It's a beautiful place. The beaches are great. I love snorkeling here, and I love some of the private beaches that you can, they're really not private, but I love the way some of the beaches feel private when you're here. There's two things I would consider that you could do. One is visit the Coral World Ocean Park. That's kind of on the other side of the island. It's very easy to get to. Just get a taxi or a ride over there, and then you can swim with dolphins or you can swim with sea lions. There's a lot of ocean life to explore. I really like Coral World Ocean Park. The other thing that we have done is we've traveled here with friends, and we chartered a boat to take us snorkeling. And when you split it up that way, it sort of disperses the cost and is a really, really great thing to do. One of my most favorite things I've ever done on a cruise is charter a boat and have the captain take us to the best snorkel spots, the best beaches. They know where all the stuff is and can get you away from the crowds. So that is great to do here in St. Thomas as well. Bouncing over to Tortola, Tortola just has incredible beaches, right? We're going to be spending time on the beaches, exploring the water. I mean, we're here in the now Lesser Antilles, and it is beautiful as you start to explore the Virgin Islands. And this is just one of those spectacular places with pristine beaches. So we're going to want to explore those. Moving down then to St. Maarten, this has that famous beach, it's Maho Beach, where the planes fly really close, low over the beach, and the sand blows everywhere. That's going to be busy, right? The planes only come in on scheduled time, so the crowds build up. We would probably avoid those crowds and take a catamaran ride out to where you just have a more peaceful and relaxing experience. Or perhaps get into St. Maarten, explore some of the city, some of the towns. It's such a beautiful island. The last place that we could visit here in this part of the Lesser Antilles is St. Kitts. When we were here, we actually we hired a taxi to take us around. We were with another couple. He drove us around the island, showed us the sights. We got a really good feel for this place. We drove around the volcanoes, and there's a really cool black sand beach that we went to and explored. It's a really nice way to visit St. Kitts as well. So leaving the Lesser Antilles now, we're gonna head down to the ABC Islands, starting with Aruba. The last time we were in Aruba, we actually did a Discover Scuba dive experience. We booked on our own, we didn't book it through the ship, and just had a great time. Some friends of ours walked around the city, they had a good time as well. There's like rock formations you can explore. Aruba has great beaches as well. It is a desert island, as not a deserted island, it's a desert island. They don't get a lot of rain. When they do, it's short and sweet, but it's a great island to just get out on the beaches. I really think you're going to want to get in the water here. Moving from A to B, let's bounce over to Bonaire. We're going to skip over C for a second. This was probably our favorite, my wife and I's favorite of the ABC Islands, because we really love getting in and snorkeling. Scuba diving for us was harder. My son loved it, but then when we went over to Bonaire, we actually got off the ship, made a left, walked along the water, found the water taxi that takes us over to Klein Bonaire, where we went snorkeling. And we would do this again in a heartbeat. You don't even what are you gonna do at Bonaire? We're gonna go over to Klein Bonaire and go snorkeling. Take the water taxi across. What they're going to do is they're going to drop everybody off. And if you're a beach person, Klein Bonaire is a kind of protected area. So there's no buildings, no construction. It's clean and safe and easy and beautiful. And you can just relax on the beach without the hustle and bustle of city activity. It's very nice. Or stay on the taxi. They're going to go up against the current a little bit, where you can then hop out of the boat. You're literally just going to jump over the side of the boat. They're not going to throw you over. They'll stop. They'll stop. You can get out of the boat, and the current will float you along the reef, the coral reef, as you go back to the first landing site. And that's like a 45-minute little float down, and it is stunning, beautiful and relaxing, and so much to see. And it's very affordable. You don't have to book this through the ship. Just get off the ship, make a left, walk along the water till you see the tents where you can book the water taxi. And at the time we did it was just a couple years ago, a year and a half ago. It was, I want to say $20 to $30 a person to go there and back, round trip, right? And that included, now maybe there were drinks that they were selling extra on the taxi. Regardless, it was worth it. Way more affordable than being on the ship and doing it through the ship. And we just got more out of it. We loved it. Okay, what's next? Well, Curacao. I love Willemstad, Curacao, the city. We just walked around and explored the area, had a great time. We actually went to Anna Bay Distillery and had a little tasting. I'm a certified bourbon steward and was able to pick a rum that it was aging in bourbon barrels, and they took it right out of the barrel for me, filled up a bottle, and I was able to buy that and pick my barrel, pick my rum, and take it home. Loved it. And that was just by walking around the city and exploring and discovering. So Curacao is another great place. The thing to note about ABC Islands, though, is that it can be a long cruise to get down here. It takes a while to get all the way from Fort Lauderdale all the way down to Aruba. So hopefully you have a stop or two on the way down and or on the way back. And we'll see how Celebrity does on these itineraries. All right, let's quickly, before we get to those itineraries, talk about the ships. So we have the Celebrity Apex and the Celebrity Ascent. The Apex was built in 2021. The Ascent was built in 2023. They are both effectively brand new, with the Ascent being just a couple years newer. In cruise ship terms, a ship built 3 or 4 years ago is still essentially new. Like I said, they're both Celebrity Edge class ships. With the Celebrity Ascent being a little bit larger, being able to carry about 400 more passengers total. The Celebrity Apex has 1,467 cabins, where the Ascent has 1,646 cabins. So you can see a few more cabins. But it's also a little larger because the Apex has 129,000 gross tons compared to the Celebrity Ascent's 140,000 gross tons. So the Ascent is a little bit bigger, and the Apex is just a little bit smaller, but it's still going to feel like the same ship. So what are the pros and cons here? Well, the Apex is a little bit older, but there's actually a little bit more space per passenger. And the Ascent is a little bit newer, and they can apply some of those lessons learned from the Edge class ships because it's just a little bit newer. What about the Celebrity Beyond? That's a celebrity cruise that will be cruising the Caribbean this year, and I'm not including it in this video because, well, mostly because the itineraries are really distinct from what the Apex and the Ascent are doing, and I feel like the Celebrity Beyond needs its own video. Plus, it starts with a B, and I am easily confused. I probably have already messed up Ascent and Apex in this video multiple times. In fact, I might have even said Carnival when I meant Celebrity. I get my letters confused, so it's just keeping it simple. All right, let's jump into the itineraries. So combined, there are 9 distinct itineraries between these two ships, doing 45 sailings over this 2024-2025 cruise season. Most of the itineraries visit 3 ports. Most of them have 3 sea days. And that's just as a rule of thumb to kind of keep it in mind. There are a few exceptions though, and those do stand out, and I'm going to point them out to you. Before I do that, I'm going to quickly give a disclaimer about my scoring. When I show you the itineraries and give the score, I'm going to give the variety score. That's based on the number of countries we visit, and then I look at the number of sea days to port visit ratio. And if we maintain a 2-to-1 port to sea day ratio, we get points for all those countries that we visit. If it goes under a 2-to-1 ratio of ports to sea days, then I start deducting points from the variety score. Remember, most of these visit 3 ports and 3 sea days. So that's a 1-to-1, so there's going to be point reductions there right off the bat. I'm also going to drop the facets that make up the score on the screen, so that way you can kind of compare and find out if any of these cruises are the cruise for you. I'm pausing here so I can reiterate that I use a weighted average to do the score. So the score you see on the screen, if you totaled up the numbers, doesn't equal the Clint's cruisability score, because I don't think all of those factors are equal, but they are all considered in my scoring. This also allows me to have a more focused discussion on the future, on specific styles and important considerations when it comes to cruise itineraries. So all of that gets factored in, it gets run through an algorithm, and we get a Clint's cruisability score from that. Just remember, we are cruising, and almost any cruise is better than no cruise, even if it doesn't rate as high as we would like in this comparison video. Your timing, your budget, and maybe even the people you're traveling with are ultimately, most likely, going to be the biggest deciding factors when you pick the cruise that's right for you. I just hope that by me putting this guide together, it can help you if you're trying to decide which one should you cruise on. Okay, we got it? All right, we good? All right, let's jump into the itineraries. First, just to kind of get it out of the way, we have a 9-night Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire on the Ascent. That gets us all the way down to those Leeward Antilles Islands. This only has 1 sailing going down there. It's on November 8th. It visits the Grand Caymans and the ABCs. You have 4 ports, 4 sea days for a variety score of only 3. And most of these itineraries get at least a variety score of 3. So that's not great. This does get a Clint's cruisability score of 20.17. It's because it is visiting 4 ports, which is nice. However, if you really want to cruise on Celebrity, and you really want to go to those ABC islands, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, Celebrity does have some better itineraries on offer. So make sure you like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss the video that comes out that talks about those itineraries, and you won't miss it. And I should also mention that an Ascent or Apex itinerary 7-night scores higher than this 9-night. So stay tuned for that one. So let's talk about some maybe to avoid. Now, if you've already booked one of these, or if these dates work for you, like I said, virtually any cruise is better than no cruise. And I can tell you all of these cruises are better than no cruise. They're just scoring less than some of the other ones on offer. So let me just quickly run through these. We've got a 6-day Labadee, Jamaica, and Grand Caymans on the Apex. This one, there's 1 sailing on November 11th in 2024. The reason I'm kind of not recommending this one compared to the others is that Labadee, Haiti is on the we don't know list. So we don't know if we're going to go there. We hope we're going to go somewhere else. But if they can't find a port that will take the Apex on that day, they may not go anywhere. Jamaica also, it has some travel advisories from the United States Department. So that does take a hit. This one gets a variety score of 3 and a Clint's cruisability score of 17.58. It's not bad, but there are some concerns around this itinerary. Also, if I'm going to go on a cruise for 6 days, why not go for 7 days? Right there. I mean, I recognize sometimes it's the date, sometimes it's the number of days you have off. Another one that I really maybe would consider avoiding is the 7-night Bahamas, Labadee, and Grand Cayman on the Ascent. Now, Celebrity just calls it Bahamas, Labadee, and Grand Cayman. What they don't tell you is that this one's going to Bimini, which, like I said, is a nice, quiet island to visit. I'll put the sailing dates here on the screen. This one gets a variety score of 3 with a Clint's cruisability score of 17.45. The November sailing is priced pretty good, actually. I would consider the November sailing. The reason I'm kind of giving it a little bit of a hit here is because the others are priced a little bit high. Don't love that. And then when we throw Labadee, Haiti in there, again, we have some question as to where are we going to go. So we don't really know. I have 2 more. One, again, that I'm kind of not sure about is the 6-day Grand Cayman, Jamaica, and Perfect Day at Coco Cay. This one only sails on November 10th. Gets a variety score of 3.5, which is a better variety score, but it gets a low Clint's cruisability score of 17.28. Again, it's hurt by the visit to Jamaica. Finally, the last one here that I'm like, I don't know, it's a 7-night cruise, Bahamas, Labadee, and Grand Cayman. Just looking at it, you wouldn't be able to tell if it's which Bahama island it's going to. It's actually going to Nassau, Bahamas, which is rated lower than going to Bimini. This one gets a variety score of 3 and a cleanse cruisability score of only 16.73, and is unfortunately the lowest rated here of this group of cruises. All right, so what is the cruise? Which ones would I recommend? Well, I have 2 honorable mentions here. I think if you're looking for a safe, family-friendly, fun getaway, I would look at the St. Maarten, San Juan, and Perfect Day on the Apex. This is a 7-day cruise. It cruises on both November 16th and November 23rd. And what I really liked about this one is that Thanksgiving itinerary on November 23rd is just a little bit more expensive, like $50 a person more expensive than the earlier sailing. So that's why I think for a family-friendly fun getaway, this one could work. It gets a variety score of 3 with a cleanse cruisability score of 17.62. I like this one. I like these destinations. I like these ports. I think they work really well for a fun, family-friendly cruise. If you're looking for a safe, romantic getaway with some fun thrown in, consider the St. Maarten, St. Thomas, and Puerto Plata cruise. It's another 7-day. I'll throw the dates up on the screen because there are 11 sailings here, which is pretty great. This one gets a variety score of 3 again, and a cleanse cruisability score of 18.43. Really, really solid. Great stops and a lot of fun with some romantic opportunities as well. And finally, the highest rated on Ascent or Apex cruise is the Key West, Bimini, Labadee, and Puerto Plata on the Apex. We have 7 sailings. I'll throw the dates here on the screen with 4 ports. It's the only itinerary other than that 9-night that goes to 4 ports. So this one actually gets us a variety score of 4. If I like Key West, if we weren't going to Key West, if we also weren't going to the Bahamas, that would give us 5 countries. Instead, because we're starting in the US and going to Key West, that's the United States, that gets 1 point. We get a Bahama score for Bimini, we get a Haiti score for Labadee. Again, we don't know about that one, but still we're getting another port. And then we get a Dominican Republic point for stopping in the DR. That gives us a total of 4, a great 2-to-1 ratio here. So more stops than we have sea days. 4 stops, 2 sea days. Love it. Variety score 4. Labadee's obviously the wild card with a cleanse cruisability score of 21.63. You know, this is all about the cruise for you, not necessarily the cruise for me. There are other itineraries that the Apex and Ascent are doing in the Caribbean, and I didn't list them all. I didn't talk about the ones that go to St. Kitts, for example. They kind of scored in the middle of the pack generally. If you are considering one of those, or maybe you're already booked on one of those and want to know where your score fits in, let me know in the comments below and I'll send it back to you. I'll message that back to you and keep you posted on that. And I hope to hear from you. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.